Good evening. This is All India Radio. I am Valsa Williams and with me is Renuka with the evening news. The headlines. India heads for robust economic growth with world's fastest growing startup ecosystem, says Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Inaugurates Semicon India Conference 2022 in Bengaluru. Prime Minister urges Patidar community to form groups and help in implementing areas like fintech and national education policy. CCEA approves highest bid of Star 9 Mobility Private Limited for sale of entire 51% of government's shareholding of Pawan Hans Limited. Index of 8 core industries posts robust growth, 10.4% during 2021-22 fiscal. Prime Minister meets Sikh delegation at his residence in New Delhi, says Sikh community strengthens bond between India and other countries. In Uttar Pradesh, 22,000 loudspeakers from various mosques and temples removed till date. For the first time, namaz not offered on roads of the state on Alvida Jummah. Prime Minister Modi to participate in inaugural session of Joint Conference of Chief Ministers of States and Chief Justices of High Courts at 10 a.m. tomorrow. In Asia Badminton Championships at Manila, India's two-time Olympic medalist and former world champion PV Sindhu cruises into semi-final round of women's singles, and in IPL cricket, match between Punjab Kings and Lucknow Super Giants underway in Pune. India is headed for robust economic growth with the world's fastest growing startup ecosystem, said Prime Minister Narendra Modi while inaugurating Semicon India Conference 2022 through video conferencing today. The three-day event is taking place in Bengaluru. India's own consumption of semiconductors is expected to cross $80 billion by 2026 and $110 billion by 2030. Speaking on the occasion, the Prime Minister underlined the critical role of semiconductors in today's world and said, "Our collective aim is to establish India as one of the key partners in global semiconductor supply chains."
Semicon India program aims to provide financial support to companies investing in semiconductors, display manufacturing and design ecosystem. For a semiconductor ecosystem to flourish, it is necessary to ensure adequate support from the government. While the industry works hard, the government must work even harder. We will continue to support the industry in future as well.
The Prime Minister underlined 6 reasons for India being an attractive investment destination for semiconductor technologies. He said India is building a digital infrastructure to connect the over 1.3 billion Indians. Mr. Modi said India is using digital technology to transform lives in all sectors of governance, from health and welfare to inclusion and empowerment. He added, India has undertaken wide-ranging reforms for improving the ease of doing business in India.
We have undertaken wide-ranging reforms for improving ease of doing business in India. Last year, we abolished more than 25,000 compliances and gave a push towards auto-renewal of licenses. Similarly, digitization is also bringing speed and transparency to the regulatory framework. Today, we have one of the most favorable taxation structure in the world.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has asked the Patidar community to create groups consisting of both experienced and young members to work on issues of national interest and document ideas on global good practices and government policies. Inaugurating the Global Patidar Business Summit GPBS held at Surat in Gujarat through video conferencing, the Prime Minister said subjects like fintech, skill development, financial inclusion, etc. can be taken for suggesting intervention in government and in academia. Similarly, national education policy can be taken up for exploration of best way of total implementation and suggesting useful intervention at every level, he added. Speaking on the occasion, the Prime Minister said India has so many resources, we just have to strengthen our self-confidence and spirit of self-reliance for Atmanirbhar Bharat. He said this confidence will come only when there is participation of everyone in the development of the country. Mr. Modi said the production-linked incentive scheme has not only filled the enthusiasm of Make in India in the old sectors, but also created possibilities for the development of new sectors like semiconductors.
आधुनिक कनेक्टिविटी के इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के विकास, नए शहरों के निर्माण, पुराने शहरों में स्मार्ट सुविधाएं विकसित करने, नियमों, कायदों, दस्तावेजों, कंप्लायंसेज के बोझ से देश को मुक्त करने और इनोवेशन की, आइडिया की हैंड होल्डिंग, ऐसे सभी कामों पर एक साथ काम किया जा रहा है। मुद्रा योजना आज देश के उन लोगों को भी अपना बिजनेस करने का हौसला दे रही है जो कभी इसके बारे में सोचते भी नहीं थे।
The Prime Minister said despite the COVID-19 pandemic, our MSME sector is doing well with the support of the government.
लाखों करोड़ रुपए की मदद देकर एमएसएमई से जुड़े करोड़ों रोजगार बचाए गए और आज ये सेक्टर नए रोजगार का तेजी से निर्माण कर रहा है। यहां तक कि रेहड़ी ठेले जैसा बहुत छोटा व्यापार कारोबार करने वाला देशवासी भी आज भारत की ग्रोथ स्टोरी से अपने आप को जुड़ा महसूस करता है।
The main theme of GPBS 2022 is Atmanirbhar Community to Atmanirbhar Gujarat and Atmanirbhar Bharat.
The government has approved the highest bid of Star 9 Mobility Private Limited for sale of entire 51% of the government shareholding of Pawan Hans Limited and transfer of management control. The alternative mechanism, empowered by the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, comprising Union Road Transport and Highways Minister Nitin Gadkari, Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, and Union Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia, approved the strategic buyer for disinvestment of Pawan Hans Limited. Index of 8 core industries, ICI, posted robust growth of 10.4% during 2021-22 fiscal as compared to the corresponding period of previous financial year. According to the Ministry of Commerce and Industry data released today, the combined index of 8 core industry grew 4.3% in March this year as compared to the index of March 2021.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that New India is touching new dimensions and making an impact on the world. He said COVID pandemic is the biggest example of this. He said at the start of the pandemic, some people were suspicious about the country's ability to tackle this pandemic, but now the country has emerged as the biggest vaccine maker in the world. He said now the people are giving the example of India. Mr. Modi said India has also emerged as one of the largest startup ecosystems in the world during this period. The Prime Minister met with a Sikh delegation at his residence in New Delhi this evening. Addressing the delegation, the Prime Minister lauded the role and efforts of the Sikh community in the development of the country.
सिख समाज में हम जितनी चिंता पिंड की करते हैं उतनी ही पर्यावरण और प्लेनेट की भी करते हैं। प्रदूषण के खिलाफ प्रयास हो, कुपोषण से लड़ाई हो या अपने सांस्कृतिक मूल्यों की रक्षा हो, आप सभी इसी तरह के हर प्रयास से जुड़े नजर आते हैं। इसी श्रृंखला में मेरा आपसे एक आग्रह भी और है। आप जानते हैं कि अमृत महोत्सव में देश के सभी जिलों में 75 अमृत सरोवर का संकल्प लिया है। आप भी अपने पिंडों में अमृत सरोवरों के निर्माण का अभियान चला सकते हैं।
The Prime Minister said the community has also played a vital role in strengthening the bond between India and other countries.
जब मैं किसी विदेश यात्रा पर जाता हूं तो वहां भी जब सिख समाज के साथियों से मिलता हूं तो मन गर्व से भर उठता है। फ्रांस में नव सपेल इंडियन मेमोरियल की मेरी यात्रा भी है। ये मेमोरियल विश्व युद्ध के समय भारतीय सैनिकों के बलिदान के लिए उन्हें श्रद्धांजलि देता है और इनमें भी एक बड़ी संख्या हमारे सिख भाइयों की थी। ये अनुभव इस बात का उदाहरण है कि कैसे हमारे सिख समाज ने भारत और दूसरे देशों के रिश्तों की एक मजबूत कड़ी बनने का काम किया है।
The Prime Minister highlighted the various initiatives taken by the government for connecting the pilgrimages of Sikh tradition with better infrastructure. He said today lakhs of devotees are getting the privilege of paying obeisance at the Gurudwaras linked by Kartarpur Sahib corridor. Union Housing and Urban Affairs Minister Hardeep Singh Puri and other dignitaries were also present there. The group included people from different walks of life. In Uttar Pradesh, the Alvida Namaz was offered peacefully on the last Friday of the holy month of Ramzan today. For the first time, namaz was not offered on the roads of the state on Alvida Jummah. The namaz was offered at mosques after an almost 2-year hiatus. The Uttar Pradesh government had directed that namaz should only be offered at mosques and not on the roads or public places. Devotees offered prayers inside the premises of mosques and Eidgahs, and there is no report of any untoward incident. Taking a precautionary step, various Maulanas had already urged the people to offer namaz inside mosques and not on roads. On the other hand, heavy security arrangements were in place. Meanwhile, more than 22,000 loudspeakers from various mosques and temples of the state have been removed till date. The Hindu and Muslim communities too helped the administration achieve the goal. More than 29,000 heads of all religions have been approached by police for this initiative.
You are listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. India heads for robust economic growth with world's fastest growing startup ecosystem, says Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Inaugurates Semicon India Conference 2022 in Bengaluru. Prime Minister urged Patidar community to form groups and help in implementing areas like fintech and national education policy. CCEA approves highest bid of Star 9 Mobility Private Limited for sale of entire 51% of government shareholding of Pawan Hans Limited. Index of 8 core industries posts robust growth of 10.4% during 2021-22 fiscal. Prime Minister meets Sikh delegation at his residence in New Delhi, says Sikh community strengthens bond between India and other countries. In Uttar Pradesh, 22,000 loudspeakers from various mosques and temples removed till date. For the first time, namaz not offered on roads of the state on Alvida Jummah. Prime Minister Modi to participate in the inaugural session of Joint Conference of Chief Ministers of the States and Chief Justices of High Courts at 10 a.m. tomorrow. In Asia Badminton Championships at Manila, India's 2-time Olympic medalist and former world champion PV Sindhu cruises into semi-final round of women's singles. And in IPL cricket, match between Punjab Kings and Lucknow Super Giants underway in Pune. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
कंपटीशन की अगर आप कर रहे हैं तैयारी तो उनके लिए ऑल इंडिया रेडियो पर हम लाए हैं अभ्यास, एक ऐसा कार्यक्रम जिसमें आप पूछेंगे सवाल व्हाट्सएप नंबर 9289094044 पर या फिर ईमेल करेंगे abhyas.airnews@gmail.com पर और हमारे विशेषज्ञ देंगे इसका जवाब। आपका अभ्यास हमारा प्रयास।
अपने बिजनेस को बढ़ाने के लिए लीजिए आकाशवाणी का सहयोग और दीजिए उसे बुलंदियों के पंख।
आपका बिजनेस लोकल है या राष्ट्रीय, आकाशवाणी देती है उपभोक्ताओं तक पहुंचने का हर विकल्प।
और अब तो आप घर, दफ्तर या दुकान पर बैठे बैठे कर सकते हैं आकाशवाणी के किसी भी केंद्र के लिए विज्ञापनों की बुकिंग।
आकाशवाणी के विभिन्न चैनलों पर विज्ञापन देना सुलभ और सस्ता।
बुकिंग है तो संपर्क करें 8700014242 पर
8700014242।
Welcome back to the evening news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will participate in the inaugural session of the Joint Conference of Chief Ministers of States and Chief Justices of High Courts tomorrow at 10 a.m. He will also address the gathering on the occasion. Chief Justice of India, Justice N.V. Ramana, and Law and Justice Minister Kiren Rijiju will also address the conference. The conference will be held in Vigyan Bhavan in New Delhi. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has left for Bhutan for the next leg of his visit after completing his visit to Bangladesh. Foreign Secretary of Bangladesh Masood bin Momen saw him off in Dhaka this morning after a brief and significant visit to Bangladesh. Dr. Jaishankar arrived in Dhaka yesterday and called on Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. He later held a meeting with Bangladesh Foreign Minister Dr. A.K. Abdul Momen in Dhaka.
With the overarching aim of providing critical medical aid to Sri Lanka during the ongoing crisis, INS Ghadial, as part of Mission Sagar 9, today reached Colombo. It delivered over 760 kilograms of 107 types of critical life-saving medicines. The shipment was received by Sri Lankan Health Minister Channa Jayasumana. In line with the government's vision of Sagar, security and growth for all in the region, the Indian Navy undertakes several deployments titled Mission Sagar to assist friendly countries. Sri Lanka's president has agreed to replace his elder brother as Prime Minister in a proposed interim government to solve a political impasse caused by the country's worst economic crisis in decades. According to the lawmakers, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa agreed that a national council will be appointed to name a new Prime Minister and cabinet comprised of all parties in the parliament. Lawmaker Maithripali Sirisena said after meeting with the president.
China has said that it is ready to permit the return of some Indian students stranded in India for over 2 years following the visa and flight restrictions imposed by Beijing due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lijian told a media briefing in Beijing that Chinese embassy in India and existing channels would work to facilitate and offer convenience to the students. Union Minister of State for Railways Rao Sahib Danve today said that Mumbai's railway station would soon get airports like makeover with passenger-friendly amenities. The minister was speaking at the inauguration event of beautification, renovation and conservation of Baikula Station in South Mumbai today. Mr. Danve said Prime Minister Narendra Modi has allocated 11,000 crore rupees in the budget for railways. He added that PM Modi has prioritized railways makeover, especially considering Maharashtra's requirements.
Life Insurance Corporation of India, LIC's initial public offering will open on the 4th of next month for public subscription and close on the 9th of May. LIC, the country's largest life insurer, has fixed the price band of initial public offering, IPO, at 902 to 949 rupees per equity share for its maiden public offer. Investors can bid for a minimum of 15 equity shares and in multiples of 15 equity shares thereafter. The LIC has offered a discount of 45 rupees per equity share to retail and eligible employee category and 60 rupees per equity share to policyholder category. The floor price is 90.2 times the face value of the equity share and the cap price is 94.9 times the face value of the equity share. With this IPO, which is through an offer for sale route, the government is looking to divest its 3.5% stake in the insurer by selling 22.13 crore shares. Addressing media in New Delhi today, Secretary in Department of Investment and Public Asset Management, Tuhin Kanta Pandey said the LIC IPO is going to be the biggest public offering in the country. He said it is the government's commitment of wider public participation in government's ownership.
It will be high value enhancing for LIC in the long run. And the current IPO is, of course, the first step of long-term value creation for LIC shareholders. And we expect significant retail participation in one of the most valuable corporations.
On the occasion, Secretary of Department of Financial Services Sanjay Malhotra said the LIC has 30 crore policy holders. And now let's listen to our special program Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav.
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a Nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
Today we remember Raja Mahendra Pratap Singh. Raja Mahendra Pratap was born into the ruling family in Hathras in 1886.
In 1914, Raja Mahendra Pratap Singh left his estate to plunge into India's struggle for independence. On the 1st of December 1915, he proclaimed the first provincial government of India outside India at the Bagh-e-Babar in Kabul. He declared himself president and his fiery fellow revolutionary Maulana Barkatullah of Bhopal as Prime Minister of the provincial government.
Raja Mahendra Pratap was also deeply involved with the Swadeshi movement and would constantly promote small industries with indigenous goods and local artisans. deeply influenced by the speeches of Dadabhai Naoroji and Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Mahendra Pratap started the movement to burn foreign-made clothes.
Pratap also visited foreign countries in an attempt to obtain support for India in its struggle for freedom. In 1929, Mahendra Pratap launched the World Federation in Berlin. He was nominated for the 1932 Nobel Peace Prize. After almost 32 years in exile, Mahendra Pratap Singh finally returned to India in 1946.
In independent India, he entered Lok Sabha from Mathura in 1957. Raja Mahendra Pratap continued to work for the society till his death on the 29th of April 1979. AIR News salutes the great nationalist Raja Mahendra Pratap Singh.
We also remember the freedom fighter Gopabandhu Chaudhary from Odisha. Gopabandhu Chaudhary was born in Jagatsinghpur. After his education, he joined the British government as a deputy magistrate. After 4 years, he resigned from his post of deputy magistrate and decided to spend the rest of his life in the service of the people. Gopabandhu Chaudhary started participating in the Gandhian programs.
निजो सुख लागी जातनु है हिंदू विश्वहित हिंदू प्रतिरक्त बिंदु.
He became a member of the Odisha Congress Committee and also a permanent member of the Utkal Samilani. His most significant work in this phase of Gandhian struggle for Swaraj was the establishment of Alakashram in Jagatsinghpur in January 1922. He experimented with the Gandhian system of rural reconstruction and education in this ashram.
Jibana pikhali nirasara bali moru morichika sneha priti.
Gopabandhu became a famous leader of the civil disobedience movement and salt satyagraha. He was arrested by the British administration in April 1930 and was imprisoned till March 1931.
In 1934, Mahatma Gandhi undertook a Padyatra in Odisha. Upon Gandhiji's advice, Gopabandhu set up a base at Bari with his family and a few followers on the 13th of August 1934 and started working for people there. Gopabandhu translated Mahatma Gandhi's biography, My Experiments with Truth, into Odia, Satyara Prayog.
Post-independence, Gopabandhu became associated with the famous Bhudan movement in the 1950s. He breathed his last on the 29th of April 1958 after a long and eventful career of implementing Gandhian programs in rural Odisha. AIR News salutes the great freedom fighter Gopabandhu Chaudhary.
We also remember the martyr Indrabhushan Rai, born in 1890 in district Khulna, now in Bangladesh. Indrabhushan was a high school student when he threw a bomb on the mayor of Chandranagar in 1908. Later, he became a member of the Manikatola Garden Secret Organization and was convicted and sentenced to 10 years of imprisonment in cellular jail in 1909 for his involvement in the Alipur bomb case. Indrabhushan was tortured so much by the British authorities that he committed suicide inside the jail on the 29th of April 1912. AIR News salutes the brave son of the country.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
FSSAI has launched Food Safety Connect app for food business operators and consumers. Download this app from Google Play Store and easily apply for FSSAI registration. Consumer can use this app to register food-related complaints.
As part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav Northeast Festival, the Ministry of Development of Northeastern Region NER and Government of Meghalaya in collaboration with the Northeastern Council, Indian Institute of Management Shillong and Invest India organized a conclave on investment potential and future energy needs of Northeast at the NEC Auditorium, Shillong today. Minister of State for the Ministry of Development of Northeastern Region, B.L. Verma, today said while addressing the conclave highlighted the Union government's efforts in realizing the potential of the Northeastern region, reiterating the Prime Minister's take on the development of NER. He said the Northeast, which was termed as India's gateway of freedom by Netaji, is now becoming the gateway to fulfill the dreams of New India. In Uttarakhand, 8 days are left for the opening of the portals of Bhu Baikunt Badrinath Dham. The district administration is finalizing the preparations at Badrinath Dham. Giving this information today, District Magistrate Himanshu Khurana said all preparations for the Yatra have been made. He also said the BRO has been directed to fix the danger zones on the Yatra route and to install additional machines at these places.
More than 188 crore 65 lakh COVID vaccine doses have been administered in the country so far under the nationwide vaccination drive. The Health Ministry said more than 22 lakh 80,000 doses were administered in the last 24 hours. India's active caseload currently stands at 17,801. The recovery rate is currently at 98.74%. Khelo India University Games in Bengaluru saw some exciting show in shooting and archery today. Lovely Professional University's Sartaj Singh Tiwana beat Olympian Aishwarya Pratap Singh Tomar of Guru Nanak Dev University in the final of the 50-meter three-position competition to win gold. In archery knockout rounds, Lovely Professional University's Aditya Chaudhary bowed out to Chaudhary Charan Singh University's Nishant.
In Asia Badminton Championships in Manila, India's two-time Olympic medalist and former world champion P.V. Sindhu today cruised into the semi-final round of women's singles. She defeated fifth-seeded He Ping Chao of China in a 1-hour, 16-minute thriller quarterfinal, 21-9, 13-21 and 21-19, and thereby confirmed her second medal at the event. In IPL cricket, Lucknow Super Giants were 112 for 6 in 16.1 overs against Punjab Kings at MCA Stadium in Pune when reports last came in. Earlier, Punjab Kings won the toss and chose to field. And now let us take a look at the weather forecast for tomorrow. National capital Delhi will experience a heat wave. Temperature will hover between 25 and 44 degrees. Mumbai will have a partly cloudy sky. Minimum temperature will be 27 degrees, while maximum expected to be around 34 degrees Celsius. Chennai is likely to have a partly cloudy sky. Temperature will hover between 29 and 36 degrees. Kolkata is likely to have a partly cloudy sky. Minimum temperature will hover between 28 and 37 degrees. Srinagar will have a partly cloudy sky with possibility of rain or thunderstorm or dust storm. Minimum temperature will be 12 degrees, maximum 26. Jammu is expected to have a mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature will be 25, maximum will be 41. Leh will have a generally cloudy sky, while Gilgit will have a partly cloudy sky. Guwahati, Itanagar and Gangtok will have a generally cloudy sky with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. Imphal, Shillong, Aizawl and Agartala are expected to have a partly cloudy sky with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. Now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. India heads for robust economic growth with world's fastest growing startup ecosystem, says Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Inaugurates Semicon India Conference 2022 in Bengaluru. Prime Minister urges Patidar community to form groups and help in implementing areas like fintech and national education policy. CCEA approves highest bid of Star 9 Mobility Private Limited for sale of entire 51% of government shareholding of Pawan Hans Limited. Index of 8 core industries posts robust growth of 10.1 to 10.4% during 2021-22 fiscal. Prime Minister meets Sikh delegation at his residence in New Delhi, says Sikh community strengthens bond between India and other countries. In Uttar Pradesh, 22,000 loudspeakers from various mosques and temples removed till date for the first time. Namaz not offered on roads of the state on Alvida Jummah. And in IPL cricket match between Punjab Kings and Lucknow Super Giants underway in Pune. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.